Welcome to your introduction to Adobe Illustrator. This is a heavily used program throughout the digital art classes, so it's important for you to be comfortable using it. On this tour, I'm going to cover the basics to get you all started. When you open Illustrator, your screen should look something like this. As with all of your projects, start by clicking on Create New. A window will pop up. Everything we work in will be in print, so select Print from the tabs at the top. From here, we have a few more things to change. First, always title your work. Never leave your work untitled. It will be very difficult for you to know which file is which eventually, and it will cause me to deduct points off of your project. Always try to name your work with your first initial and last name, followed by the name of the assignment. For this, I'm just going to write Illustrator Practice. Next, we need to change how our artboard is going to be measured. I want you to click on the drop-down menu and switch from points to inches. We do this because points are very difficult to calculate, but inches are pretty standard. You'll notice that it will automatically change the width to be 8.5 inches and the height to be 11 inches. Last, we can decide if we are working in portrait or landscape under orientation. Portrait is the default and it's taller than it is wide. Landscape is wider than it is tall. Make sure the option you want is blue by clicking on it. Let's use Portrait to start and press Create. From here, your screen will change to your work area. Let's go over what you're seeing. First, the white paper on your screen is called your artboard in this program. You will always have a digital piece of paper to work on in any Adobe program. However, the term artboard is exclusive to Illustrator. The gray area around your artboard is called your work area. On your work area, you can still draw. You can even save your work. However, when you go to print, only the work inside the artboard will show. Next, I'd like to point out the menu at the top. Most of the things that you are going to need to find are going to be under File. This is where you can find your basic information like Print and Save As. Occasionally, we will be toggling with some of these other menus. So when I say to select, for example, the Select menu, you'll know to click up here. On the left side, we have your toolbar. Your toolbar is where all of your tools are located so that you can do different things in Illustrator. Now your toolbar may look skinny like this. It's much easier to view if you click the double arrow on the top corner of your toolbar. This will make your toolbar wider so that you can view everything with much more ease. It also makes your fill and stroke down here at the bottom much larger. Using your toolbar, we can click on different tools. For example, I can click on the rectangle tool here and click and drag on the artboard to create a shape. If I hold down Shift on my keyboard while I'm clicking and dragging to create the shape, you can see that I am making a square instead of a rectangle. The default for both of these is to have what is called a black stroke and either a white or invisible fill. That's noted down here. I'm going to use my selection tool, which you can note as the black arrow at the top left corner of your toolbar, to click on one of my shapes, also known as vectors. When I click on the shape, you can see on the toolbar it shows my fill and my stroke. The fill is very simply the interior color of your vector. Right now it is set to none because it is a white plane with a red slash through it. However, if I click this little icon down here, I can change it to white, which means it's no longer invisible, but filled with a white center. If I double click on my fill, the color picker will pop up, and I can select any color I want. Right now, the stroke is set to black. I can select the stroke by selecting it. Your stroke is very simply just the outline color of your vector. I can keep my stroke as black, and we can see a thin black outline around this rectangle. However, if I select it and choose to have none, I get solid, crisp edges instead. And if you ever want to swap your fill with your stroke, you can very easily just click this little icon here. As long as your vector is selected, it will swap your fill with your stroke and vice versa. Another important tool is the pencil tool. The pencil tool allows you to draw freely using your mouse. For any of you who enjoy drawing, you might really enjoy using the pencil tool. I'm going to move this rectangle to the work area so that we can see what I'm doing. Notice that what I've drawn with my pencil tool is a line, not a vector. I'm able to have a stroke on it, but when I attempt to fill it, the computer has a difficult time reading, and it just connects my ending line with my beginning line with a straight line. This isn't how I intended to fill the shape. In Illustrator, you always want to fill your vectors, so always end your drawing where you began it. And if you ever mistake this, you can just click back on your pencil tool, click on the last anchor point that you used, and continue to draw to close your shape. Notice now when I fill it, it only fills the interior of my shape. The computer does not need to assume where I want my shape to begin and end. Illustrator will work exclusively in shapes or vectors. Some of them are common knowledge, like this rectangle. Some of them you won't be able to place a name to, like this funny little blob I've drawn. However, when you put everything together, you get images. That's how Illustrator works. If you ever want to delete something, all you have to do is select it and press delete on your keyboard. And it's gone. If you accidentally delete something that you didn't mean to, like my rectangle, you can just press Ctrl-Z on your keyboard and it will reappear on your screen. Ctrl-Z will always just take you back a step, just in case you mess up. In Illustrator, you can Ctrl-Z as many times as you want, in case you make multiple mistakes in a row. My last basic tool to show you is the pen tool. The pen tool is very similar to the pencil tool, however, it works by clicking and adding anchor points. This allows you to draw with precision. You can see that I've drawn a perfect triangle by using my pen tool. I can also zoom in if I want and click as many times in a row as I care to get smoother, softer lines. Like the pencil tool though, you always need to end where you begin. Let's look at what happens when I just have a line. I'll use my pen tool and draw a zigzag line. You can see that the computer is filling it as I go. But it's very confused. It doesn't know which side of the zigzag to fill. Always be clear when you are working with Adobe Illustrator. Think like you are cutting out pieces of construction paper in real life to glue together to make an image. I also really encourage that you use short keys. When you hover over anything on your toolbar, you'll notice that a letter in parentheses appears next to the title of the tool. So I can press V on my keyboard to have my selection tool pop up. I can press P on my keyboard and the pen tool will appear, or N on my keyboard and the pencil tool will appear. These three tools are almost everything that you need to be able to use Illustrator once. It is that simple. However, we still have a lot to learn. Finally, when you are done with your work, you are going to save. Go to File, Save As. Your Save As dialog box will appear. I always recommend that you organize your work well. Try to save your work in folders and always on your H drive. You want to make sure that your work is easy to find. In this case, as a first quarter assignment, I'm going to open this in a first quarter folder. Notice that the title that I gave my project automatically appears as the file name when I'm saving. This will save you a lot of time before the bell rings if you're in a rush. The Save As type will default to Adobe Illustrator, or AI. The Save As type is important because you will turn in your work as different file formats than you necessarily do to save your work to continue working. An AI file will allow you to essentially press the pause button on a project. Even if you're done with your assignment, it's great to save an AI copy so that if you receive feedback to make changes, you are able to open your original document. I'm going to press Save to save my AI file, and then OK. Now I'm going to go back to Save As one more time. This time I'm going to change the Save As file type from AI to Adobe PDF. Adobe PDF is the file format that you will use to turn your work in on Google Classroom. I will deduct points off of any project that is turned in at an incorrect file type. Next, you're just going to press Save and then Save PDF. Now I'm ready to turn in a PDF file on Google Classroom and keep an AI file for myself. And that is it on my basic introduction to Illustrator. If you have any more questions, please just follow along with the projects. There's a lot of opportunity for you to learn a lot more tools in Adobe Illustrator.